people.
Those are cutouts.
Oh, that looks like really.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our live stream today. Now, back by popular demand is my brother, Inferno Adam. He goes by those two names pretty much. But this is my brother. We did our Supernatural Brothers, the real Supernatural Brothers episode last time, and everyone really liked it. So we've both come back. Basically, we talk about all this type of stuff all the time. Fringe theories, whatever is considered like supernatural or, anything that's not mainstream teachings or thought. We talk about this type of stuff all the time, and I get people asking me, like, how does your family deal with all of your strange ideas, Because I know often family can, family tends to be really, there's sensitive topics when it comes to family, right? Well, this is my family. And he does not believe in every single thing that I believe in or everything that I talk about or all of my subjects. However, we're both open-minded enough to discuss philosophy, to question reality, to bring things to the table and say, hey, I heard this, or what do you think about this, and that's why we're here today. And we're going to do the same thing with all of you. So if you're in the chat, we're going to be keeping our eyes on the chat. We've got the chat pulled up. If you have a question or a comment and you want to direct it at me or Adam, just type in at JayDreamerZ and make sure you spell it correctly in the chat so it will highlight on our side. Then we can see it. So, what'd you think of the last time you were here when we were...
I had a lot of fun, man.
Doing our video.
It was definitely interesting. I'd never done anything like that before, but I had fun, man. Your audience is great, and I'm looking forward to getting down to some great topics again with you. And, yeah, like I said, man, I just had a blast last time. It was definitely fun.
Thank you, Jessica, for your donation as well. So we're just gonna hit it in stride. We're gonna talk about whatever subjects happen to pop up for the next hour or so. And as we chat, we actually might bring up some other subjects that will spark your interest. But you're saying one of the things that you were just looking into was the subject of the moon.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've been looking into the subject of the moon and the moon being fake, the moon being hollow, also the moon being brought here. There's a lot of things about our moon that a lot of people don't understand and they don't talk about, that even scientists can't really fully explain. The ringing of the moon, for instance, when the Apollo mission landed on the moon, there was a very audible hearing ringing that people were hearing, or the astronauts were hearing. And it wasn't just a couple minutes, like here on Earth when we have an earthquake, the vibrations last a few minutes.
Right.
This was hours worth of ringing when we landed on the moon. And a lot of people don't talk about this because it points to a hollow moon.
Right.
Which, according to science, that's not the way it goes. It has a thin crust, a huge layer of all this other stuff, and then a dense core. However, through researching some other things like that, going into the Apollo 20 missions, which a lot of people say Apollo missions stopped at 17. I do not believe that at all. I believe there were at least a minimum of 3 more that occurred. I do believe we have a space force that is operating off of or around our moon. I do also believe that our moon is used as a base by intelligent beings from other places. There, to point to evidence of this, there are things on the moon that just absolutely do not make any sense whatsoever. Structures on the moon. There is a giant satellite dish on the moon. It's over 1.5 miles wide. It's closer to 2 miles wide. And traditional science says, well, no, that was a meteor impact crater that got hit again within a span of millions of years, probably. Directly underneath it, so it preserved this perfectly dish-shaped bowl impact of the first crater, which doesn't make any sense, because if you look at the object, it also has the original crater, the dish-looking part, has another rod sticking up just like a satellite dish would, a focus antenna.
Right, yeah.
Well, if that was a meteor crater, there's no way in hell that would be there. Do you see a tower in the middle of any of the meteor craters you've ever seen?
No.
I don't.
And I just went to Meteor Crater, and they don't have extra little divots in the middle, which is really interesting, because when I went to Meteor Crater, at the bottom of Meteor Crater, there's a hole. and it's got a grate over it. Like there's a cave at the bottom of a meteor crater. It's got a grate on it, and then they also put like a little astronaut standing there. You know, they'll cut out astronaut.
I saw that on your video. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. They like dig it. Now what they say is that they say, you know. The guy that bought that land wanted to make all this money because he was going to dig and find all of the metal from the meteor or whatever, and so he bought all that land and he dug to get the metal, and that was the big deal about it. Something doesn't sound right to me about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody buys the land around where a meteor hit to try to dig it out to become rich, especially if you're already rich. You know, to get a little nugget of something.
Yeah,
when there's so much more, yeah, there's gold and diamonds and all kinds of stuff in the world. I don't know, man. Like the stories we're told, the official narrative, the official stories. There's so many holes all the time, and people always get upset or mad whenever we start asking questions. And the moon is no exception. The moon's no exception. The moon is full of holes. Like it's the whole thing. Everything about the moon that I've ever heard, that anyone's ever taught me or instructed me, you know, that the moon is everything. I mean, we don't even know where it came from. When I was in science class, I think I remember them teaching me, well, there's three main possibilities of how the moon got there, you know? And none of those possibilities make any sense, nor do they align with any of the ancient culture stories about where the moon came from.
And the time on the Earth before the moon was here, because there are cultures who have stories about there not being a moon. There was no moon. The day the moon arrived was a story in these people's tribes. Also, like I was telling you earlier, if you look at pictures, the official NASA photographs of the moon, and for all you out there, I am not saying listen to everything NASA says, okay? Or that anything NASA prints is real. I'm just telling you.
Right.
Look up the photos from the front side of the moon that we normally see to the back side of the moon. There's drastic differences in the fucking terrain. There is, I mean, literally drastic differences. There's tiny pot-marked little pebble craters all over the backside of the moon, and almost a complete lack of any dark spots, any huge craters. And I mean huge craters like we see on the front side. There's almost none. The astronauts from the Apollo missions said that there were large surfaces on the side of the moon we landed on that were almost glass-like. They had been fused together with so much heat that it was almost like walking on glass. And a lot of people don't know this, but if you look at the moon, a lot of those dark shaded areas are those areas with the inside the craters and around the craters that have glass, or like the glass type surface. If you look at the reverse side of the moon, there's almost none of this. There is no charring, no melting of the backside of the moon whatsoever. So what caused all that heat on the front side of the moon? There's no scientific answer that would do it. No meteor crater, no meteor impact, no asteroid impact would cause that on the moon. There's been thousands of asteroids and meteorites that have hit our moon.
Allegedly. I've never seen one hit the moon. Not in my entire years of life. I've never seen a shooting star run into the moon. If you have ever seen a shooting star hit the moon, please let me know. Please send me video. Please give me a time and a date, anything. I've never ever in my entire life seen a shooting star smash into the moon. I've never even seen one go in the direction of the moon. The shooting stars don't seem to go anywhere near the moon. They seem to be localized to the surface of our world.
I will definitely concede there. You're right.
I mean, you would think that somebody at some point in time would have seen a shooting star stop once it got to the moon. You know what I mean? You would think so. But at the same time, okay, shooting stars require, supposedly, they require atmosphere to burn up, etc. But
I'm pretty sure
how does that work with
dust if it hits
a comet? Comets are out there in space. Well, they say that the comet is burning. It's burning up because of the sun. I don't know. Like
the comet, they're saying their official explanation for the comets, which I don't necessarily buy, is that the ice and debris that holds oxygen particles in them.
Oh.
These chemicals break down as it's traveling through space, and that's what creates the tail and the ice and all that other oxygen fiery stuff.
Now, I want to get to some of the questions in the chat, but I also want to fix the audio. Some people are saying that the audio sounds kind of distorted, so I'm going to unplug this real quick and plug it right back in. We'll see if that does a trick. the audio should be back up. Let me know how it sounds. And I can actually change the microphone setting too.
Now, while he's doing that, I did want to bring up one thing.
Whoa.
There, whoa.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. Let me explain. Okay, time out. Okay, this is a green screen right behind us, okay? We're in a very small space, and my brother's gigantic, in case you could not tell. Okay, I'm 6'2", so imagine, all right? I'm sitting on my son's little baby chair, basically, and he's sitting on a regular chair so that he doesn't have to sit on like something that's too big. Anyway,
break it.
I pretty much I almost fell off the baby chair. That's what happened there. Okay, everybody's saying that the audio sounds better. So let's take some questions here. Oh, Jake says, JayDreamerZ, what are your ideas on what shooting stars are? Now I lean towards there being a structure above our world. I lean towards there being a barrier between our realm and the realm above us. And I believe there are many realms. I believe that there are underworld realms or inner earth realms. I believe that there are extraterrestrial realms or realms off to the sides of our Middle Earth area that we inhabit. And I believe also that there are realms above us. And I think one of the ideas that I have, and this isn't something that's like rock solid or anything, but I think that whatever is above us is a structure. It's mechanical in nature. If that's probably the best words I can use right now to describe it. And so, because it's mechanical, it seems reasonable that from time to time something would fall off of that mechanical structure. And when those things fall off and pieces of it fall off or whatever, they come to the earth and they burn up. Kind of like in the Truman Show, you know, where Truman's out there.
Light falls.
Yeah, you see the stage light is a star, which is Sirius, which is really interesting. But the stage light falls down and it's supposed to be a star. Like it fell down to the ground and it was a fixture that was up there for quite some time, and then it just, you know, everything falls apart, everything gets older and stops working or whatever. So if this world was created, like the majority of the population of Earth says that it was, that this world was made somehow by somebody, then it seems reasonable to me that there are structures in place that we mystify, that we take for granted, that, you know, we just label it and we don't think twice about it. We wait for Bill Nye to come on TV or, you know, any of the mascots of academia to tell us exactly what had happened, because we don't. We're too lazy to look into it, really. Huh?
I said I despise Bill Nye for that purpose. Sorry, Bill. But like my brother was saying earlier, our views don't always coincide. Like I do agree with him about the Hollow Earth thing. That's one thing that we both believe in and we both look into. I do believe in definitely something above us because, quite frankly, I'm a vivid UFO alien hunter. I love looking into anything to do with that. Downed aircraft, mysterious sightings, abductions, so on and so forth, going back past Betty and Barney Hill. However, I am not a proponent of the domed Earth theory, but that's, like I said, we can talk about these things and we can, you know, bounce things off each other. And there are things that he's told me that I was like, okay, I never really thought of it that way. Cool, okay, yeah. And, you know, vice versa. But that's one of the reasons why we enjoy talking to each other, is because, like, he says some stuff that I've never really thought of in that particular light. And then I can go, oh, holy cow, okay, that makes a little more sense to me now, what you're talking about. Let me learn some more. And what we were talking about as far as, like, or what he was just talking about as far as the whole domed earth thing, mine is more like, I do believe there's a conspiracy to keep what is out there away from the general public and out of the general public's view. I do believe that most of that is because of the fact that our government wants to, basically it's profiteering. Our world is built on a bunch of profiteers. It's not just governments, it's people who own most of everything, and it's a handful of people. However, these people have technologies and access to technologies that are free energy technologies, things of this nature that would literally cause a global collapse of the monetary system. Nobody be making any money. It would be Star Trek's version of the world all over again, where everything is on credit from the Federation type thing because there is no monetary system. if you get rid of these things. However, like I said, I do believe that we've recovered alien technology. I do believe that we have recovered UFOs and other things that are at Wright-Patterson, places of this nature, Groom Lake. And these are all based off of, people's accounts that I've heard who are credible witnesses. U.S. Air Marshals, pilots, military officers going all the way up to generals and admirals. Washington himself, George Washington, had an experience with, you can't call it anything else, a UFO and an alien being. In his journal, he depicts it. So I do think that there's a lot more out there as far as UFOs, aliens, things of that nature that people don't talk about and people don't want to see. And I also think it's because, you have to realize, people are like, oh, well, when disclosure happens. Disclosure's been happening for decades, people. Look at how many times you've been bombarded with Independence Day style images and
Right.
The Day the Earth Stood Still and all these other Hollywood advertisements. There was, for God's sakes, when Independence Day came out, there was a U.S. military recruiting video commercial that talked about defeating aliens. Okay,
Yeah.
It was a military recruitment video that talked about the day we beat the aliens.
Oh, I want to talk about that. Oh, let's please. Can we talk about that?
Yes, absolutely.
I want to talk
Let's
about
go for
Space
it.
Force. Can we please talk about Space Force?
Yes, definitely.
I'm speechless. Okay, I don't even know what to say. It's so crazy. Okay. Okay, time out. Okay, here's what I really want to say, all right? First of all, you're right. You're exactly right. We have been trained and conditioned for as long back as I can remember to point our guns at the sky and get ready to war with the aliens because, we all know the aliens are going to take over, right? Like, we just know this. How does anybody know this? How can you say for certain that there is this advanced civilization out there in space that come all this way, right? Now, I'm just going to go according to the accepted model in our world today, okay? Or to the mainstream cosmology, okay? So, think about this. We've got Earth right there, right? Now, Earth is allegedly tilting and wobbling and spinning and flying around in circles, orbiting, all while it's moving in the same direction around a giant fireball. That fireball, known as the sun, is going in its own chaotic orbit around God knows what, headed God knows where, probably on a collision course, inevitably, with something out there, right? And then these aliens that live billions, God knows how far away, I don't know, okay? They could be on the moon, I don't know. But let's just say that they have the technology to space travel, right? Like Star Trek style, not our really horrible, old-fashioned propulsion style of
Tie
travel.
you to the Acme rocket
that we use.
and
Yeah,
launch
exactly.
you into space.
Right. So they're telling us, the aliens, we've been told this. That's why we think this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Except, with the exception of those people who have allegedly, according to their reports, met some alien beings or some extraterrestrial beings. I call them alien. See, this is, sometimes I'll use a word, right, that I know other people are familiar with, but I have my own definition of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So instead of taking all the time to really bring them to my level and get them to understand what I'm talking about, I'll say aliens, even
Alien,
though
three-dimensional beings, whatever. A lot of people call different things.
right, alien just means you're not used to it being around. And if anything, if all of the stories, if all those religion stories are true, then we're the aliens. Because we weren't here first. Something was here that created mankind. And thus, we're the new guy, basically. And so why is our government, why are the movies, why are all these, why is everything in our face that we need to shoot the aliens because they're going to come take over the world? If they can travel to any planet that they want to,
We're
right?
already dead.
Well, no. I'm not saying we're already dead. I don't even know if they're...
Let me rephrase that. If they can, they are.
Oh, you're talking about if they are malevolent.
Yeah, if they are malevolent and they have the capability to travel between worlds, we're already screwed.
I will be pointing them in the direction of all the bad guys in the planet. I'll be like, yep, right this way. First, you want to stop over there.
And I'm the first one to say, I'm not going to get into religious things, but demons are another thing aliens have been called. I can perfectly well see people in the medieval times seeing an alien and going, "That's a demon." Okay, that is a demon.
That's true.
You know, look out. I mean, I'm not going to go deep into. I'm not going to go deep into the ancient aliens theory type things. But one of the things I do agree with that they happen to say as a proponent of ancient aliens is, if you look throughout history, there is not a ancient civilization on this planet that did not have terms for some kind of flying machine. Flying chariot wheel, flying discs, flying horses, flying palaces of gold. They all have it. The Mayans, the Incans, the Sumerians, they all had what they equate to a UFO. Okay, look at famous paintings throughout history. There are literally dozens and dozens of world famous paintings that if you look in somewhere in the skyline, there is a flying object. And this is hundreds and hundreds of years sometimes before any kind of flight.
Right. So my question is, why do you think that the world government would want to keep knowledge of extraterrestrials from us?
I honestly believe that we are slave labor and our planet has figured it out. Our upper echelon of this planet has figured it out. I believe this for very large, unexplainable reasons that I've dug into. Some of which are the disappearances of people on this planet. A lot of people don't realize this. In America alone, there's over 1.3 million people every year. This is every year that disappear. Gone. Okay. Even if you...
I'm going to Google it while you keep saying
that. Yes. Even if you added in all the child abductions, missing persons, Jane Doe, John Doe, all these things do not equate to 1 million plus people disappearing in America every year. And the scary thing is this number has gone up exponentially. Huge numbers, jumps in the last 50 years.
Oh, wait a minute.
A lot of people remember hearing people talk about the President Eisenhower's meeting with the gray aliens for technology.
Right.
One of the things I believe is that is the point when we knew aliens existed for the most part and we knew that we could barter with them. I believe that we did tell them that they could take X amount of U.S. citizens. And the reason I believe this, like I said, is because if you look at the missing persons records, going back to the date of this supposed meeting, it's right around that, or about a year and a half, 2 years after that meeting happened. And these numbers jump incredibly huge. I mean, they jump by massive numbers. At any given time, there's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people disappearing at any point in your day. And that's just America that I'm giving the numbers off of.
Read this to everybody. This is from Quora, the website. At
any given time, there tend to be between 70,000 and 90,000 active missing cases. But these are not necessarily new cases. On average, it seems 40,000 to 50,000 are entered every month.
Dude, 40 to 50,000 missing person cases are reported every month in the United States. Like, when you go to Walmart and you see the kids' faces of the missing kids on the thing, first of all, how many of those kids did you see on the news for an Amber Alert, right? Maybe one, okay? I don't know, man. All I know is that does not represent how many people are actually going missing.
People are vanishing, not just in this country, okay? That's just here. Then you look at countries with populations denser than ours. Look at China. China's average is, I think, like almost 1.5 times what our average is for missing people. It's ridiculous. So, million here, million there. You're looking at millions of people, not just a million, millions of people disappearing every year on this planet.
Well, that's what they say. We don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what they're reporting.
And I'm telling you right now, this all makes sense to me. Okay, there have been people like who reported the Dulce base in New Mexico, Phil Schneider, who ended up committing suicide. Hold on, let me put this in camera. Suicide. Because I do not believe it was a suicide after this man just went out and did all these heroic, in my opinion, press conferences disclosing what he saw, what he knew, disclosing his injuries that he obtained during all of this. And in Dulce, him as well as a couple other people who have recently come out to talk about the Dulce base have stated there is a level of the Dulce base where there is nothing but vat after vat of human bodies, heads, arms, legs, blood, whatever.
Experimental laboratories
Yes.
and whatnot.
And people, they couldn't keep that a secret, experimenting on U.S. people. Well,
That's their nature.
I hate to break the news
That's
to
their
you, but they've
nature.
been doing this since the creation of government. Okay.
Since the creation of man,
Yeah.
according to like the Babylonian creation story,
Yeah,
like
I
they
mean-
were genetic engineers. They were scientists that knew how to restructure the genome.
Absolutely. And like I said, I do believe that they're here. I do believe that they have either bases nearby on this planet or near this planet. Could be the moon, could be the sun, for all I know. Which is another thing we'll get into about what NASA used to say about the freaking sun and how all of a sudden their whole new rhetoric about the sun, because it used to be you couldn't get an object within X amount of millions of miles from the sun.
I know, right?
And then now they're like, oh yeah, no, well we can send
we'll
this
just go-
one.
we'll
we
just
can
go
send
land.
we can send this one closer. We're good. Like,
Well, let's just go land on it. It's not that big a deal. We'll just land on the sun.
and
you know?
they're coming out with all of this, of course,
Serious?
after they were taking a
Can't land on the
lot
sun.
of heat recently for these videos showing objects going directly through the sun.
You know what?
And they're taking a lot of heat for these videos because they cut the live feed, obviously, whatever it was they didn't want us to see, because as soon as it got reported, people were like, where'd the video go? Well, NASA took it down. But there are pictures of this shit going straight through the middle of the sun.
Oh, let's hold that thought real quick. I want to read a couple comments here. So Jake says, JayDreamerZ, do you think demons/jinn, like genies, jinn, you know, are a separate thing from dark elves/Dracula, etc.? No, I don't. You see, I know a lot of people, they tend to take something that once was a historical figure or a historical group of beings or whatever it may be, and then it becomes ethereal over time. Like everything becomes sort of ghostish and, you know, like angels, right? Angels are always like very ethereal with wings and stuff, and they can pass through objects, and we don't see them as being solid, right? Like human beings, right? Same thing with leprechauns, elves, all that type of stuff. Welcome, P900 Cool Pics. But I think that there is a physical representation of those things. I'm not discounting that there is a spirit world. I'm not discounting that there is an energetic alternative dimensions and things of that nature. But I believe that a lot of these beings, we have changed their character over time. Like there's still the root of truth to those beings, but they've sort of become cartoonified. That's how I see aliens, you know, like how people are always drawing aliens. Aliens are a perfect example. You know, you always see some big-headed, you know, that type of thing. They used to draw little green men or whatever. There's truth to those things, but I don't know. I don't believe that the jinn lived in lamps and that they came out in smoke and they did your wishes my command, all that. But I believe there's truth to those stories.
Well, and if you look at the original stories of the jinn from, you know, places like the Quran and stuff, they're not the Disney genie, you know, poof, what do you need?
Oh, yeah.
Poof, what do you need?
No.
They're to be feared. Like they're very revered and very feared, scary entities as far as the people who live in these countries go. Jinn are not plumes of smoke that come out of a lamp to give
They're
you
not
shit.
typically kid friendly.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I totally agree with what he said on that. One twist I did want to put is, you know, like what he said earlier, I believe that everything has bunches of names, okay? Depending on your outlook on views of life and how you were raised and what you believe, you're going to call things certain things. Angels, demons, aliens. Right. They could all be the same thing. We don't know. I'd love to find out, but right now we don't know. And so, yeah, I absolutely believe that, you know, that stuff could be demons or could be what people talk about when they talk about the jinn. I also believe that those are the things that people talk about when they talk about people who possessed magic. You know, these people could have just been enhanced humans or humans with special abilities.
Those who know, knowledgeable people, wise ones, wizards, etc., and so on and so forth. Hey, let me read this other one by Karen B. She said, JayDreamerZ, because she's talking about why the government would hide aliens from us. Because if we weren't afraid, we would begin to communicate with these beings, and they could tell us they could tell us whatever they want to tell us or whatever, you know. I'm going to scroll back down to the present time in the chat here. So what do you? So we're talking about basically. We started off talking about the moon and the sun, right? And then we started kind of getting into the sun. Now, first, let me just hear black and white. What are your thoughts on the moon? Do you think it's a structure or a spaceship or a rock, or what do you lean towards?
I believe that it was a modified structure. I believe it was made to look like the way it looks like, as far as a moon goes. I believe it was brought here into our orbit. The moon has an orbit that we can't even explain. The elliptical, the moon is on an almost perfect elliptical orbit. When I say almost perfect, I'm talking within inches. It's unheard of in nature for this to happen. You also have to look at the rotation of our moon. Our moon never turns. It faces the exact same way every day, every night, day in, day out. Why? Name another moon that doesn't turn at all. Okay, I can't think of one. Our moon has a lot of things, like I said, that bring me to the conclusion that it is either a hollowed out structure that was brought here, built near here and brought here, whatever, right, or even possibly a ship of some kind. You know, I don't want to say Death Star because that's going to go to
that's
Star
no
Wars.
Moon, kid.
That's going to go to that's going to go to too much Star Wars things. But
that's okay.
It really
There's a lot of truth in Star Wars.
It really is, in my opinion, closer to a Death Star type thing. I mean, with a granted a lot better surface structure to look like a moon, but it is, in my opinion, once again, my opinion, it is an artificial, made by something else structure.
Now, have you looked into the theory, the supposition that the moon actually makes its own light?
I have not.
Okay, well, see, now everyone gets to watch us talking about something new. Okay, so about a year and a half ago, I was researching flat Earth theory, right? That the Earth is a plane of existence, and there's a lot of extenuating things, you know, topics that come along with that particular topic. One of those is, you know, when talking about cosmology, the moon itself is, according to many, I'm trying not to speak for all of the flat earthers out there. That's what I'm trying to do, okay? But according to a lot of people, they started saying that, hey, the moon is nearby and it's not reflecting the light of the sun because it wouldn't be able to. It supposedly, if it's spherical and you shine a light on that spherical object, even the light that it does reflect, it's going to be dispersed in 360 degrees and it's going to be very dim. You know what I mean? You're not going to have that bright moonlight that casts shadows and things like that. The moon should be very dim in its nature. So anyways, people were saying, even in the Bible, it says God created two lights on the first day. He created the sun to be a light and the moon to be a light. It doesn't say God made one light and then he made a reflector or whatever. You know. Now, maybe people were reading into it. Anyhow, I wanted to test this out. And many other people wanted to test this out. So a lot of people went out and they got these those laser thermometers. You just, you point the laser at whatever the object is and it instantly gives you a reading on the temperature. Yeah. So people would go out in the full moonlight. They would record the temperature of an object that was in the direct sunlight of the moon. I mean, the direct moonlight, right? And then they would record the temperature of something that was in the shade of the same objects, taking out all the variables and everything, right? People have done extensive experiments.
I've heard of this, and it's actually hotter in the shade than it is in the direct moonlight, right?
Exactly, yes. Okay. It's warmer by about 7 or 8 degrees in the shade of the moonlight than it is in the moonlight itself. So here's what I did. I went outside, and I went right under the overhang of my house here, and I closed my eyes, and I stepped into the moonlight, and I just wanted to feel, like if I could feel a temperature variance. And then I stepped back into the shade, and I promise, the moment I stepped back into the shade, I felt warmer. I really did. I was like, wow. I stepped out into the moonlight, and it felt colder. I was like, wow, this is something I don't even need.
Okay, this actually ties into something that I was just... Remember me telling you I was looking into the moon stuff like literally for like the last few months?
Yeah.
Okay, this ties into something exactly I was dealing with that. Okay, so a lot of the research I'm reading has led me to believe that It talks about, without getting into too big a detail, it talks about the forming of a different Earth to this one, the transformation that had occurred when our moon was brought here or arrived here. You have to understand, the moon has certain scientific shit that it does to our planet. Okay, it's got gravitational pull, tides, all this other stuff that affects.
Right. Which is what they teach us.
Well,
allegedly. I'm not a big gravity person, but I hear what you're saying. That's what we're told.
There are tribes throughout the world. There's a few in South America that I know of, and I think there was 3 or so in India that have stories passed down, legends passed down of our world before the moon. And the weird thing is a lot of these legends have one thing in common. That our Earth was enveloped in a huge mist. A dense, can't see 2 feet in front of you, watery mist.
Yeah, like a canopy.
Yeah, exactly. Think like hardcore perpetual rainforest, like, and you'll get the idea. Well, a lot of people believe in this group, this subset of group that I've been reading about, that when the moon was brought here, according to these legends, even in the Bible, in the Noah's Ark, in the rain for 40 days and 40 nights, when the moon came close enough to our planet, the waters fell from the sky perpetually without end. And
that's true. That's how the story goes.
They all talk about how this was not just like a localized event. It was worldwide. All these different cultures from different sides of our planet say this about the past, before Earth was what we consider now to be planet Earth. Okay, it was a very misty, very wet place, and when the moon came, that is actually what filled up what were the valleys, the deep valleys and stuff,
right,
where our oceans are.
I could see that.
The world did flood.
The timing does line up according to all the legends and stories that I've ever read, that the flood seemed to coincide with the introduction of the moon. And by the way, if you want to research the people who lived at the time before there was a moon, type in a Google search for Pelasgians. 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 Those were the people who existed before the moon was introduced, before the moon came here. Now, let's talk about some other stuff real quick. Let's see. Cian Maney says, JayDreamerZ, a fictional book I'm reading hints that 9 worlds had borders that were solidified by God due to all of the warfare and space rifts formed as they separated. You know what? You're going to see the same themes just repeating themselves over and over and over in books and movies and television shows. I mean, people are running out of ideas of new things to even really talk about, because all they're doing is telling the same old story from the beginning of time with the different names and different faces. But see, what they do is they throw in certain symbolism, and they tend to name their characters specific special names that clue you in to the fact that this is reality rewrapped and presented right back to you in the form of entertainment, But I want to talk about the sun, and then actually I want to ask you. I would love to chat about dinosaurs for a quick second, because I have some interesting thoughts about dinosaurs. But the sun has been acting pretty weird for years now, right? Everybody's looked at it now. Adam, he was talking about whenever NASA and other space agencies, supposedly they have satellite cameras or whatever that are just constantly zoomed in on the sun. And so, you can look at these images and you can see stuff out there by the sun that's, if you compare it to the actual size of the sun, you can get a feel for how gigantic whatever those things are, right? Mm-hmm. And I've seen those videos. Stuff definitely goes right through the sun. Have you seen the one about it sucking up the plasma? Yeah.
Okay, there's one, I kid you not, if you have not seen this, go look it up. It is an Earth-sized object. You can see the round edge of it. Just kind of blocking out a little bit of the sun's stuff shooting off.
Yes.
And you can see this almost tornado-like suction of plasma from the sun up to this object.
Yes.
But the best part is the last 2 seconds of this video, because it appears as though this Earth-sized object darts away from the sun. You can actually see it pull the plasma,
right,
allegedly, away from the sun.
So I have a theory. I have a theory about that. Now, I don't believe that the sun is 93 million miles away. I'm not convinced that it's as big as what they say. I think they had to make it that big to push it that far back into space or whatever. But I have... Okay, I'm gonna build a bridge real quick. So, I was researching NASA footage, right? Especially older NASA videos that shows their spacewalks, that shows outer space, just when they were just showing you outer space itself, right? And it looks like you're in the ocean. Like some of these older videos from NASA, it looks like when they show you space, it looks like you can see little things like almost swimming around in the water, like little, pieces of stuff that are in there. And they would say, oh, well, it's space debris and this and that. However, it's moving and it looks exactly like it's just underwater, whatever it was. So my theory is that when we see the image of the sun on NASA's website and it's this blazing ball of whatever, right? And people are looking at all these anomalies, my first thought is not that that's a 93 million mile away sun that's just so gigantic, and so all these other objects in turn must also be super gigantic, because what if that's not the sun that's up in our sky? You know what I mean? Because okay, and I'm just telling you from my perspective, right?
Yeah.
So, if the sun is a nearby heavenly body, if it's a nearby light above us, right? And it goes around our world, there would be no satellite in space to just give you constant footage of the sun. It would have to basically follow the sun wherever it's going because it's a nearby object, if that's true. So I think that whatever that is that they're showing us, and they're saying this is the sun, because I guess they've got, I mean, just imagine like the satellite that's out there. What you just planted a satellite just chilling out there. It's just, it got to where it needed to be. Okay, perfect spot. Oh, sun looks great from this. Okay, put on the satellite brakes, and we're just going to keep our eyes on the sun or whatever, right? I know I'm simplifying it, but I don't think that that's the sun. I'm not convinced. I believe that could be, something else. Just like I said when they were showing space, but it looks exactly like the bottom of the ocean or like they're underwater. What if what we think is the sun, and we see all these anomalies, and we assume that because the sun, we're told, is so gigantic, all these anomalies must also be scaled to the size of the sun that we're told.
Right.
But what if that sun, or what if whatever we're being told is the sun, is actually something different, and now we get a better picture of what those anomalies are, Like, what if it's for example, I'm making this up, okay? But let's say that it was a bug zapper, right? Let's say they just zoomed into a bug zapper and they're like, look, it's the sun, 24/7 live streaming of the sun, but it's a bug zapper. And you see little gnats, like, running into stuff. And people don't think that they're gnats because they're scaling those objects to the size of the sun that they've been told, So they're like, whoa, look at that. Did you see that? Something went right up to the sun, and that thing compared to it must be like the size of Venus or, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility that could possibly explain the anomalies or whatnot.
Well, I mean, with our government, especially with NASA, it's so hard to tell what the truth is. I mean, undoubtedly, no matter which way you look at it, from my perspective or from yours, NASA's altering stuff left and right.
Yep.
Okay, I mean,
Yep. NASA lies.
No matter which way you look at it, NASA alters things. Okay, they alter photos before they release. They alter videos before they're released. They very well, for all I know, could be doing what you're talking about, and just look, it's to scale now. Leave it there.
Yeah.
If they very well could. They very well could be doing it for reasons like I said, I honestly believe that, like I said, these are opinions, but I believe that NASA is hiding it. They are altering images. They are doing things like that, but I believe they're doing it for another reason. I believe, just like everyone else, it is a global conspiracy, and people go, well, global conspiracies can't be kept because there are too many people that take to do that. Nope. No, you don't even realize it because there's less than a handful of people that control this freaking planet.
Right, exactly.
Okay?
Let me give him an example. Him and I could very well, if we wanted to, start up, our own company, our own business or whatever, but we've got a conspiracy in mind, right? We've got an agenda that's selfish, and it's not the agenda that we've told everyone. Then all we have to do, just the two of us, is just hire a bunch of bosses and managers, a management team and stuff, tell them the story that we want them to know. They believe that story, and they go and tell everybody else. Like, it's not hard at all to keep a secret at all.
That is the great way of putting that. Yes, that's the way I believe it. See, he has a better way of saying it than I do, and it's my belief. I love this. But yeah, no, these people in our government and around the world and other governments who control, and I'm talking about the uppers, okay, the top 1%. Okay,
the ones you don't see or know about.
The fools that don't make the paper. You don't ever hear stories about them. It's not
their shadows.
I'm talking above George Soros. Okay, everyone's like, I just point to him because everyone uses him as a scapegoat for everything. It's George Soros. But even like beyond him, it's people you haven't heard of. Okay, these people own massive amounts of land, money, everything. They control what you hear. They control what you read. I believe that NASA is a part of that, and they don't want us to know what's out there because of the fact that either A, they're not ready to do it, B, they're greedy. Like I said, I believe that we already have unlimited energy potential applications.
Yeah.
And think about it. They gave that up. They're giving up everything they own, basically, because they lose their power.
I agree. They lose their power. And Karen B, I think, actually mentioned something along those lines, too. That's what I think it's all about. They're going to lose their power. Why? Because these aliens are the ancient gods. They're the beings that pre-existed us. Like I said, we weren't here first. Somebody else was here first.
It's like your boss at work not wanting you to know about his boss, okay?
Right.
You think he's the end-all, be-all boss.
Yeah.
And then later on you find out, oh, crap, he had a boss? Wait a minute. What?
Right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, space is real. My uncle worked for NASA. Oh, yeah? What'd your uncle do? He scooped mashed potatoes in the cafeteria for all the astronauts. Space is real. Like, you know, you with that.
I also believe a lot of the fact that, and I'm not saying they can't be misinformation. Once again, this is an opinion. Look at the astronauts who come out and disclose. Okay, there's a reason why most of these guys look like the crypt keeper. Okay, they're coming out right before they die and going, "Hey, this shit's real." And there's been a few of them who have done it. They wait until they're like 95, and then
Buzz Aldrin did.
Oh, hey, by the way,
dude, Buzz Aldrin was like, "We didn't go there. That's the way it happened." Like, I'm old ass Buzz Aldrin going senile and just pretty much not caring anymore. It was like, they said they'd kill me, but I got like 5 minutes.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, we didn't go.
People wonder why all these admirals and stuff wait until they look like the freaking crypt keeper old to like come out and disclose all this stuff. And it's really fairly simple because when Big Brother tells you to do something and you don't, they'll kill you. Okay, and I'm getting in on that real quick just for a brief second. I want to mention something. Okay, I'm a big proponent of this because people are. I am very anti-government. I don't trust our government. I don't believe our government. I think pretty much our government's in place to directly lie to us 24/7. Now that being said, look at some of the suspicious deaths that have to do with energy. Since I was talking about free energy, okay. Nikola Tesla's grandniece, I believe it was, grandniece or granddaughter. You can check that out and look up on it. She died in one of the weirdest ways possible after sending a direct threat to the U.S. government. She sent a letter saying that she knows about her family's invention for free energy. Yeah. And she knows that the government took it. Mm-hmm. And within 3 months of that letter going out, she died of spontaneous combustion. Just in her trailer, nothing else burned.
It's not natural. That does not normally just... People don't just explode all on their own or catch fire.
She died in her
weaponry.
Home, and the official cause of death was spontaneous human combustion.
Hey, how many people out there used to be scared of spontaneously combusting? I definitely did. I was scared, man. I saw a show when I was like, 6 years old or something. I was like, that's a real thing? Like I was like, well,
watching your skin start smoking anyway.
Yeah, you know, that's messed up, man. That's messed up. They just tell us this stuff, and
but our government has. I mean, and it's not just her, but you can look into it, man. People who threaten our government, people who come up with alternate ways of producing clean, free energy. Yeah, they all die really fast afterwards.
Yeah, because the energy's everywhere, and that's what they don't want you to know. They want you to think that energy must be attained through certain. Gas
Look at the Star Wars project. There was a string of dozens of deaths related to the Star Wars project science officers. Dozens of them died. More than half of them were heart attacks.
Wait, time out. When you say Star Wars project, I forgot what that was.
Star Wars Project was a program initiated in the late 70s, early 80s, I believe it was. Basically, it was a laser-based defense system that they were trying to perfect or trying to create.
Oh!
That you never really heard what happened to it.
Right.
They never said it failed.
Okay.
But they just kind of went away.
Yeah.
No one ever talks about it anymore.
Yeah.
But the people who worked on Star Wars... I mean, you can look up project leader names and stuff and check them with, like, actual, death records. And... I'm telling you, like 40 to 30, like 35, 40 people died within 10 years of this project's disappearing out of the media.
Right.
Of heart attacks, random strings of car accidents, just the weirdest stuff, man. And they're all like in groupings, like 5 car accidents, 30 heart attacks.
I don't know. I'm suspicious. And I'm not saying no. I'm just saying.
Our government...
I don't believe in coincidence.
Yeah, our government is perfectly willing to kill people, and people don't understand this. They've done it before. They've admitted to doing it before.
Yeah, I mean,
they test chemical weapons on our own troops, for God's sakes.
I know, on our own citizens.
And they admit to it.
On our own citizens, people without their knowledge at all. Like, this is public information. You can look it up and find. It's been disclosed. They have admitted. Oh yes, but those ways are behind us now. Yeah, we've got some new ways we're working on.
I bet you they do. They involve little freaking gray people who suck you into spaceships.
Yeah, or like black goo and nanotechnology and all this craziness.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. That subject scares the crap out of me. I don't like I don't like robots you can't see doing stuff you don't know about. That just
Bro, you are made of robots that you can't see that you don't know anything about.
I am agreeing with that, but I am in control of my own self. I don't like not being in control. I'm a control freak.
Okay.
I don't like the idea of something that can rip you apart at the molecular level. Okay, that's why I was always uncomfortable with the Star Trek transporter.
Right.
The idea of something ripping me apart on the molecular level.
Like on Spaceballs?
Yes. It's like, why didn't anyone tell me my ass was so
right, exactly.
Yes, no, so exactly.
Funny. And there's a lot of truth in that particular movie too, as well.
Because my problem with all that is, if you're being, especially with the transport thing, and I know this is a side shoot, but my problem with the transporter is this. They basically have to completely destroy you atom by atom to rebuild you somewhere else. So you're not coming back from here to here. You're being destroyed here, and then a new you is being built here.
Right. And now, I mean, we have to ask about the soul, because that's great. You can put my body from one place to another and reconstruct it. Are
you coming back as like a soulless, like crazy deviant or something?
Right, because am I basically like dead, and now there's like a robot replica of me that has no soul that's transported on the other side? Kind of like in what was that movie with the magicians?
Oh, the Illusionist. The Illusionist.
Yeah, the Illusionist. So in the Illusionist, this guy makes this teleportation machine, supposedly based
on Nikola Tesla's work, supposedly.
Right. And so he teleports, but he doesn't really teleport. He stays right where he is, and he makes a copy of himself that's over there. And he's totally okay with killing his own copy because he figures, well, I got the soul. The soul's in me. Like, those copies clearly must not have the souls or whatever. Which is a very interesting concept because, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into that particular concept, but many serial killers have had a similar mindset, basically. Like, hey, it's like turning off a machine with certain people. You know what I mean? I mean, this is what they said.
No, I agree.
I can't weigh in on it because...
well, see, and this gets into another subject that I'm into as far as... see, and this one's not even... I can't even call it a conspiracy because we know people are doing it, which is what freaks me out. Genetic modification, genetic cloning.
Yeah. Okay,
people are like, well, you can't clone a human. No. That is not true. That is not against the law at all.
Yeah,
What is against the law as far as... Okay, I talked about this with a bunch of people of mine and a bunch of friends of mine, and I like to talk about human-animal cloning. People are doing this, and people go, no, they're not. It's illegal, and across the entire globe, you're not allowed to do that. That's not true. If you read the actual text of the document, it says that you are, blooper time. It says...
Okay, I did actually fall off the chair. Let me show you the chair, just so you have an idea.
This is a ridiculous chair. Okay, look at my hand.
It's a chair.
This is the chair, okay? It's tiny.
Gosh.
But Anyways, if you look at the actual words of this document, all it says is that you cannot put the male sperm of an animal into a woman's womb to try to impregnate her. It does not say anything about impregnating an animal with a female animal with a male. Okay, there are genetic labs that are working on this right now. And people are like, that's stupid. What could you possibly gain from that? Well, it's scary. Okay, think about what you can get. I mean, I'm talking actual Planet of the Apes style shit here, okay? Think about what you can get if you can mess with the DNA of a man and an ape, just say. Okay, a great ape. I'm talking like gorilla. Okay? If you could learn to unlock the secrets of a DNA code and literally mix the genetics and have a live birth of a gorilla human offspring, I mean, we don't know what that would be like, but in any way, it could be colossally bad. Because what if you have the intelligence of a human with the brute strength and animal instinct and aggressiveness of a wild gorilla or something, okay?
Right.
And we're doing this with not just this. I mean, a guy in, I believe it was China, I'm going to have to look this up. There's an article, a guy in China who actually just screwed with the DNA of a live human birth. He screwed with this child's DNA strands, okay, which is hugely weird. And not to mention completely immoral as far as the medical professional world is concerned.
Right.
But this could be the start of some seriously crazy stuff. I'm talking X-Men, man.
I agree. Have you heard of CRISPR?
No.
Okay, so CRISPR is a technology that already exists, that's already out there, that has been commercialized to do exactly what you're saying. They will mix, and they're already working on mixing hybrids to give human beings certain animal qualities to amplify our abilities or whatnot. This is already out there. It's already something that's in the works, and it's already... Now check this out. Wow. Allegedly, I just found out today, one of the scientists who was working on, trying to genetically modify babies. They're designer babies, basically, right? Okay. Just like in the movie Gattaca, if you've ever seen Gattaca.
That's a scary movie.
It's the same concept, okay? That's what CRISPR is, and that exists. That scientist, I guess, went missing. He's gone. Like, he just disappeared off the face of the world, which I find to be really interesting. But hey, let's talk about dinosaurs.
Okay.
Can we?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my thought. Okay. I don't believe it. I'm just saying, like, okay, that's obviously I'm being very simple, right? But what I'm saying is, dinosaurs did not exist in our history as far as the written record goes. There was no written record of actual dinosaurs the way that they are portrayed today. I'm not talking about Behemoth and Leviathan and monsters and all that type. I'm talking about dinosaurs, like the
T-Rex with the arms
and the Stegosaurus. And all those dinosaurs. The concept falls apart under scrutiny. For example, think of a Stegosaurus. How do they mate? Like, they've got spikes all over their back and everything, and they got these stubby little things, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, I'm just saying, okay, so aside from the physical impossibility, it looks like it's an impossibility to me, I see the symbolism behind the dinosaurs. For example, the word dinosaur. Most people would think that it means, what do you think it means? Do you know?
What was it? Like gigantic lizard or...
Right, gigantic lizard, right?
Like that.
But check this out. The word sor is related to our word that we use, sar, or sir, like yes sir, right? Sir, senor, what's some other SR? Caesar, Khazars, right? Caesar, etc. That's the word sor. It means prince or ruler, right? Dino means terrible, but not terrible like, oh, I'm afraid, or like that's a bad thing, terrible. Terrible used to mean gigantic. That's what it used to mean. If something was terrible to behold, it was titanic in nature, right? So we have the titanic rulers, which is exactly what dinosaur equates to. That's what the word, the etymology of that word means. It means gigantic rulers or titanic. rulers, terrible rulers, right? Has nothing to do with lizards. There's no lizard in that equation at all, you know? And not only that, but, okay, so my point is, I believe that this is all symbolism that references the land before time, our time started. You know what I mean? It's the kingdom of the giant rulers, or the titans, the gods, etc., who were also known as the reptilians, the silica beings, the shining ones, the fish gods, the ones that clearly were depicted as having scales all over their bodies.
See, you hit something that's more on my length just now. I believe that, like what we were told about dinosaurs is complete BS. I've recently started to adapt the way of thinking of believing that dinosaurs were more of a cover story to cover up things like tracks and other things that have been left behind by creatures such as the Anunnaki, reptilians, things like that.
Right.
Just like I believe that, like the video we were just watching about the giant titans, the stone titans.
Maya Bay one.
I believe that these are just another reason or another thing that the government, people in charge have given us to believe in, to go, oh, well, that's why that's what this is. This is for a giant lizard. Because why else is it that human beings have been on this planet a long freaking time, okay? Long time.
Right.
Not in any of the chronicles of the traveling friars and knights through the Crusades.
Dragons. They do talk about dragons.
Do they? No,
not dinosaurs.
No. I do not equate dragons with dinosaurs.
I don't either.
Okay, it is not the same creature.
Not the same at all. You can't say a dragon is a dinosaur.
Yes,
it's not.
That was where I was going with that. They talk about dragons, but there is no mention of giant dinosaur bones, fossils being dug up when these people still dug. They had mining operations in South Africa going back to like the freaking the dawn of time practically, okay? No one in Africa ever went, and one of these mining camps ever went, oh, hey, I found a freaking so-and-so down in the 1500s. Right. No, that never happened.
And this is what they do today, okay? This is what I've seen. This is my experience, okay? First of all of the dinosaur bones in all of the museums I've ever been to are replicas. They're not real bones. They're casts that have been cast. And so I always ask, like I did when I went to my on that Arizona trip. I was in the petrified forest. They had some dinosaur bones in this museum. And I was like, hey, are those real, authentic dinosaur bones? Are those the originals? And he's like, oh, no, those are replicas. I'm like, where's the originals? Oh, they're in some college, basement somewhere. I was like, why? Why don't you have the originals right here? This is a museum, right? Why don't you let's put up replicas of the Mona Lisa. Let's put up replicas of just everything.
The Smithsonian is the biggest institute for hiding and covering up mankind's true past that you have ever seen. It is bigger than the Vatican in its scale of cover-up. The Smithsonian has been known to... There have been cases where people have reported turning in giant bones, human bones, by the way, giant bones, to the Smithsonian.
Right.
And then the Smithsonian literally said,
thank you.
We lost them.
Yeah. Oh.
We lost them. Well, this guy had a letter that I saw from the Smithsonian that told him that, well, we lost those bones, we no longer have them. But if you call the Smithsonian and ask them, they flat out deny ever even seeing them. We don't know what you're talking about. What giant bones?
Right. And that's why independent investigation is held in such high regard for me. You know what I mean? Because I don't trust the people who are in charge. I trust myself. You know what I mean? But I wanted to say also, they killed off the dinosaurs in the story. Right? Like every single dinosaur. Here's the story.
They all dropped dead.
Try not to laugh because it's a very funny story, I think, okay? So let's see, which direction am I coming? Okay, so, long time ago, millions of years, during the something-asic period or whatever, and all of a sudden, all the dinosaurs that are like chewing on grass are like, and then they all blow up. Give me a break, bro. Like, you're just trying to institute fear into a backstory of our history so that we're afraid of traveling and going off into, other places. Like, space is dangerous. Like, out there is dangerous. We're always in peril. At any moment, our world could this and that. But, check this out. Why did they kill off the dinosaurs? They had to, because they teach evolution. What's the natural course of evolution for a lizard being that's already starting to stand on its hind legs? humanoid, right? So you would naturally have reptilian beings develop over millions of years, according to their teachings of, you know.
And by the way, humans used to have a tail. There's a reason that there's a thing called a vestigial tail. Okay, it's creepy, and I know people are like,
I don't think it's creepy.
What? I think it's
Avatar,
creepy.
look at Avatar.
Okay, yeah, that's why I said it's creepy. They plug their they use the same things they have sex with to ride their animals. It's creepy. James Cameron should not feel comfortable.
All right, I get that. I'm just saying. Okay. I'm just saying. You have a point. You do have a good point.
But like, see, and I did that, and I just
the way you put it, it was definitely creepy. It was really weird. Oh boy. But anyhow, I think that's why they killed the dinosaurs, because they would have turned into reptilian, saurian.
Well, think about it, because don't you remember? Because I remember them changing the story. At first, it was the big dust cloud that killed off all the dinosaurs from the impact.
Right.
But then it was, oh no, well then that changed the climate and they all froze to death. Well, how the hell? Because not everything on this planet froze to death. We talk about animals that lived and thrived during the Ice Age.
So many holes.
Okay.
So many holes in that story. You guys need to start over. Go back to the drawing board. Just give us a brand new lie.
Delete.
Make something else up. You know, like get better at your storytelling, because there's so many holes when you look back on all these things. You start asking just logical questions, you know? Okay, so we talked about the moon. We talked about NASA and stuff. We talked about the sun a little bit. We talked about dinosaurs. Is there anything else you really wanted to talk about? Because when we're done, I'm going to open up the chat and we'll do some like questions and responses.
I think we topped off on a lot of good subjects. I'm down to let's see what the chat room has to say.
Okay, so one thing I do know is, because a lot of people were asking me from the last time you were on, I want to talk about the flat Earth theory, because a lot of people are out there looking into flat Earth. You're not a flat earther.
I am not.
But you're not the type of person to ridicule people.
I'm not a dismisser of the flat Earth either entirely. Right. Let me say that right now. I am not a flat earther. I have looked into flat Earth theory. I'm still looking into flat Earth theory. Like I said,
have you watched my video?
I have watched your video. I actually on flat Earth. That's one of the first ones I watched. I had never been a huge person. I didn't know a lot of people who were into it. I never really picked up on it. And when my brother did, I actually started looking into it. Now, that being said, there are some things I still have an issue with, because, like I said, it contradicts with some of the things I like, and not necessarily in a direct fashion, but enough to make me go, eh. But flat Earth is a very interesting subject. I think there's a lot to talk about there, and a lot that can be discovered, and that's what all this is, man. Like, I don't know that all the things I say or I believe in are true.
Right.
But it's a process of discovery, to learning these things and being open enough to go,
We go with what we have.
Yes,
you go with what you have. And guess what? You're constantly getting more all the time. The more you walk, the more you acquire as far as your experience and your knowledge. So that's something that I am proud of my brother for, that he has an open mind, that he allows things to stay on the table while he allows those things to marinate in his own mind. And patience. Like, patience is something that we learn as we get a little older in life. It took me a lot longer to learn my patience, which I'm still doing. But impatience is something that I believe a lot of people who are on the truth-seeking path could really benefit from exercising. Patience, basically. Because when we're young, we hear something and we want to share it. Bro, did you know? Bro, did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Because I used to do that to him, actually, all the time. And that wasn't a good path. Like, let's talk about that. I used to be a know-it-all, brainiac, mainstream Christian that basically...
He really was.
Will you hand me that book right there?
Oh.
The little book. Yeah. So this used to be me, right? Boom. Like I was a Bible thumper, right? I literally was. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. But anyways, that was me. Like, and I was, I was impatient, is what I'm saying. That's really what I'm saying. Because the second I heard something, the second I learned something, I had to go right out and say, oh, this makes sense to me. Everyone needs to know. I'm going to teach this, Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off subject. Point is, people are always asking me how my family responds when I talk about flat Earth. It's all in how you come across to people, Like I was talking about building bridges. Like, you can't just come up to somebody out of nowhere and just slam them with a concept they've never even really thought of, you know? You build small bridges to those things. But he's got an open mind. He's looking into that type of stuff. And I'm not saying that one day he'll be where I am or anything like that. I'm just saying it's good that we don't plant our flags in the ground and take up residence, because then we're not moving on our path anymore. You know what I mean?
You know, just like I'll never discount the fact that at one point I won't be like, hey, oh my God, you won't believe it, guys. I actually am there with you. The earth is flat. What the hell? I might get there. Because like I said, I look into the subjects and I see what's what. Now, on the other hand, you know, like I said, whether that happens or not is a product of what I discover along the way, what I learn from...
And you have already.
I want to say my truth, but that sounds horrible.
No, I know what you mean.
Everyone has their own truths, okay? It depends on what you've discovered knowledge-wise so far.
Right.
Everyone has the knowledge that you've accumulated, and that's what you base your judgments off of. Not everyone's going to come to the same judgments, because not everyone's accumulated the same knowledge or the same aspect of looking at stuff in their life. But I do love the fact that me and him can always talk about stuff like this, and we don't really argue. We just bounce ideas off each other. It's basically like a writer's session for a TV show. We're like, hey, what about this?
Right. That's needed. I think that's needed. That's the creative element that's missing in all of our philosophy, our debates, our discussions where we don't agree on things or see eye to eye. It's almost always based on accepted knowledge, accepted facts, etc. There's no creativity behind it to balance it out. There's no imagination. There's no reasoning behind it to sort of work through questions and problems and stuff. Okay, so anyhow, we talked about all that stuff. I've also been talking to Adam about mud fossils too, because that's one of the main things I've kind of been focusing on lately, which is something that you find interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. And you've already come to the conclusion, or not conclusion, but your research has already led you into hollow earth theory and things of that nature, which is exactly where I was. People ask me that all the time. You know, what led you to believing that the earth is flat, you know? And I tell people I was researching the hollow earth. And then I ran out of research. It was all done. I mastered the hollow earth, and so I moved on to the next thing, and I looked into that, you know?
And see, what's really funny is, like, Hollow Earth isn't what did it for me. Mine was actually the Odyssey.
Which Odyssey?
Homer's.
Oh, okay. Right, well, there's so many.
Oh, there are passages that in Homer's Odyssey and pictures that were painted around the same time as Homer's Odyssey that depict, like, the above land Earth as a flat, but where the hell would be is under the bottom dome. You know what I mean? Like, it was like if you cut the earth in half. Yeah. That bottom half is what the earth they believed actually looked like. Right. Everyone was up here and hell was down in the dome shaped down here. Right. That was the first time I had ever really contemplated flat earth. Yeah. And then, of course, like I said, honestly, other than that, it was mostly your videos that got me going, okay. Because, like I said, I really wasn't a flat earth proponent. I wasn't looking specifically to look into things of flat earth. I just kind of here and there would stumble upon tidbits of knowledge.
Like something like that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. That's kind of where I thought you were talking about.
Exactly.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is open up the chat. Whoa, I almost fell again. Oh my God. The chair is leaning back on two legs so that I can appear to not be so tiny compared to him. That's what I'm doing.
And I want to let everyone know tonight, I did not bring a can of soda because last time my hand was making it disappear and everyone was getting freaked out at how big I was. Yeah. So I went out and got a super large Coke.
So there you go. Anyway, if you guys have a question for myself or my brother, just type in @JayDreamerZ. We'll go ahead and read your question here on the air. Jill says, JayDreamerZ, do you have a theory on RH negative bloodlines? Yes, I do. RH negative bloodlines, it seems to me, are directly related to particular families of gods, or the elven race, the El, the Elu, whatever names people call them, and it's carried on. There's a signature. There is a relationship that's carried on through that bloodline, basically family. I mean, that's a part of what that is. All of our genetic structure has a signature that's unique, but also it's a signature that belongs to particular bloodlines, to particular families. That's why we can trace our roots back, Ancestry.com and all that fun stuff, which is also why I believe the Mormons are so into their family history and their bloodlines, as well as the ruling class of our world. Like we all know, they're very interested in staying in the family, keeping that bloodline pure, so to speak. So I believe that I don't think it has anything to do with monkeys or the rhesus monkey or anything like that. I think it's directly related to the gods, which is exactly what we've been told, basically, So, and not only that, but Rh negative people have certain tendencies or abilities that sometimes are activated within their DNA. We would call that junk DNA, but there's no such thing as junk DNA. Every single part of your DNA has a purpose. You know what I mean? Now, it's just like files in a computer. Some files you might not use all the time, but if you would like to, you can go in and activate those files. You just haven't done it. Unlearn the system.
Jessica's.
Oh, okay. Which one is that?
Jessica or Lynn Bryant.
Okay. So, Unlearn the System says, JayDreamerZ, hey Adam, what are your thoughts on Huff Paranormal and his ability to communicate with spirits?
Oh, that wasn't the one I was talking about, but yes, I will answer that one too.
Good question.
Okay. As far as Huff Paranormal and communicating with the spirits go, I believe it's entirely possible to communicate with the spirits in different ways too, many different ways. I believe, people don't understand things like spirit boards, Ouija boards, things like that. That is a form of communication with spirits, and it is a very active one. I don't care if your Ouija board is from Parker Brothers or you drew it on a bar napkin. Okay, the Ouija board has no power. The power is the fact that these spirits see that you're willing to communicate with them, and I think the more open you are, the more spirits will try to communicate with you.
Okay, so I have a question, actually, about that. Along those lines, I'm wondering what your thought process is, right? Because when we think of spirits, right, this is actually something, everybody in the chat, time out, just pay attention to what I'm saying real quick, okay? I know you guys are having a good time, but listen, okay? Because I want to know if you guys have had similar experiences. Have you ever been in your house and you maybe watched a scary TV show or something and it's dark and, you're in your room and you look and the door is open and it's just a black hallway or,
and you
it's
can
really
see
dark.
something move by that door.
Yeah, and now you
you
think to yourself, You almost can envision some sort of apparition or like a ghost. Like you can almost picture what that would look like if that ghostly figure were to cross in your line of sight, right?
Right.
But I realized one day, almost every time that I was sort of picturing what this apparition would look like, right? Not discounting the one experience I have had with an apparition, but every time I imagined what it would look like, it was interesting because that apparition was always about human-sized, human-shaped, 5 to 6 feet tall, somewhere in there type of deal. What about the spirits of the giants? What about the spirits of the titans, if they existed, right? Because I think that they did. Would the spirit of those beings follow suit size-wise? You know what I mean? Or would you say spirits, can maybe change shape or are shapeless?
See, that goes into more of my personal beliefs. I believe that there are multiple afterlives. There's not just a heaven and a hell. There's not just a heaven, a hell, and a purgatory. Okay, there's a heaven, a hell, and a purgatory, and a whole bunch of these other heavens and hells from everywhere else. And
Yeah, are you talking about like alternate dimensions?
No, I am talking about. I believe that you create, as a human, where you go in the afterlife. I believe that if you believe in heaven and you believe you'll go there, you go there.
Okay.
I believe all of these places in some form or another exist.
I see.
But getting there is dependent upon yourself.
Right.
I believe the people who are stuck are either people who didn't believe in heaven, people who wanted to stay here on Earth, people who didn't believe in an afterlife in general. Things of that nature. I believe people, and you can call it whatever you want, purgatory, whatever. There's a lot of different names for it. But like I said, I believe that even heaven, as most Christians and stuff see it, is not the same type of heaven that I always assumed it was when I thought about heaven as a kid. Okay, and the best way to describe this, and I hate to bring it up, is the show Supernatural. There's a guy on it, he's actually kind of a redneck, his name is Ash, and he dies. And they see him in heaven.
You can't say that, I haven't seen the whole thing. That's okay, it's okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll get over it.
And when Ash sees them, he goes, well, look at it, you can't really think of heaven as one place. He's like, you can't.
I'm on season 1.
Well, he says you can't think of heaven as one place. You got to think of heaven more like Disneyland. Okay, you got main heaven here, pearly gates.
Right.
But then you have a whole bunch of everybody else's heavens. Your heaven, my heaven, their heaven, his heaven.
Tomorrowland
all
heaven.
over the place. And everyone gets their own little slice of heaven that's theirs. It's specific to them. Whether they're living out old good memories or whatever they think their heaven should be. Okay, that's kind of how I think of the afterlife. People don't just go here. If you believe in the old freaking, like pagan gods, you would go to where they went to.
Right,
Valhalla, same place. That's what I believe in. I believe spirits are stuck in one form or another, either because they wanted to become spirits and they wanted to stay on Earth, or that they were just people who didn't believe in anything, so they didn't have a place to go.
Okay, but what about the size, though?
The giants, see, now that's where I was going next. Giants are another cool thing, though, because if you think about it, I believe giants existed, much like you do. However, that brings upon a whole new thing. Did they have a soul? Were they what we consider to be people? Were they just giant,
we don't tend to
looking.
like to see them as being soul-filled beings because we really like to just look at the giants and the titans as being the bad guys.
Agreed.
I'm not saying they're bad or
there
good.
have been reported cases of giant spirits, though. I wanted to bring that up.
Oh, really?
Okay, you have to remember. Yes. Oh, okay. Yes.
Tell me.
The gnats spirits over in. Oh my God! I can't believe I don't remember where it is. Okay. Someone look up where gnat spirits are from. Anyways, there's hundreds of them. They have tons of them. There have been spirits reported that were these gnat spirits that were 2-3 stories tall. They actually have photos of a video of one of them going around this one place. I want to say it was Myanmar is where I was actually talking about originally. The gnats, they have one for everything, okay? Those of you who don't know what a gnat spirit is basically these people have spirits for every occasion. They have a spirit of gambling, one for lovemaking, one for literally everything, water. However, in these things, near some of these temples, people have claimed to see ghosts who are in excess of 30, 40 feet tall.
Okay. That's the first time I've heard of it. So I'm interested.
No, absolutely. One of Angkor Wat, I know, was one of the places where people claim to see giant ghosts. Angkor Wat is one of the largest spiritual complexes.
You gotta scooch over. Nobody can see you.
Sorry. Angkor Wat is one of the largest spiritual complexes in the world.
Right.
And people have done investigations of paranormal entities in Angkor Wat. Most of them during the daytime. A couple have been given permission to do them at night.
Okay.
But they've caught shadows, figures, whatever you want to call them, ghosts.
Right.
That are projecting a shadow that is enormous. I mean, I'm talking like it outstretched a pillar that's 20, 30 feet tall. So there are reports of giant ghosts on this planet.
Okay.
And it's not in every country, but it is in quite a few. I know China had reports, Indonesia. A lot of them seem to be closer to Asia.
Right.
But even Russia has had reports of giant ghosts in Moscow.
So would you say, for example, for any ghost, really, right? Whatever size it is, would you say it's kind of like in the Matrix when they have their residual self-image, like however they think themselves to look, that's how they look?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
absolutely.
That's kind of what I thought.
I also believe that negative entities are what some people would call them demons, whatever you want to call them, poltergeists, bad spirits, can alter their size on purpose. There are accounts of people seeing what appeared to be a normal man-like shadow that all of a sudden stretched to like 14 feet in height.
Yes. And that, you know what, that's not something that surprises me because we grow and we shrink. So how much more could a spirit grow or shrink? You know? Like, it's the ancient gods, especially in Greek mythology, they were talked about as being shapeshifters all of the time. You know, they had the ability to grow or to shrink or things of that nature, which is what we do. We don't consciously grow or shrink, but what if we had that ability, you know, to take control of these things? Because ultimately, it's you're in control of whatever, you know, happens with you. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. Let's jump into the chat. We're going to do questions and answers, or questions and responses, I like to say, because I don't have all the answers. but I will respond. So if you have a question for Adam or for myself, just type in @JayDreamerZ. We'll take the next 10 minutes to try to get to some more questions here or some comments. And I do want to say thank you to everybody who had such positive comments to say the last time that you were on.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it.
Because I love it. I love being able to have somebody to talk to who's here that we can relate about things and just toss ideas back and forth. You know what I mean? Anyhow, so it looks like 1A Harvey says, JayDreamerZ, for Adam, what are your theories about REM sleep paralysis?
Oh, okay. So being as someone who has had similar experiences, I've never been fully paralyzed, but I've had experiences where I couldn't move my legs when I first woke up. I'm not a huge advocate, but I'm a big advocate for out of body experiences. People who there have been people who have left their bodies and been able to describe stuff that they could not have possibly seen if they were still inside their bodies. I believe that is the process of whatever you want to call it, your spirit, your energy, your soul, trying to get back in your body that was still sleeping, but woke up without your stuff in it. Your essence, your energy, whatever you want to call it, the you that makes you, has not yet connected back to your brain, which is what gives your body its impulses to do stuff.
Now, would you be okay sharing your story when you're in the hospital?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, tell them that. Tell them that, because that's kind of like an out-of-body experience, except you weren't out of body, you were seeing...
Yeah, okay. So,
this is a good
not
story.
A lot of people know this. I woke up paralyzed a few years ago. Basically, from about my heart down, I couldn't move anything. It turned out I had a tumor underneath my spinal cord that was non-cancerous, but had to be cut away. Well, I was under the knife for quite a long time. It was hours and hours and hours worth of surgery. And while they were getting close to wrapping up the surgery, they had to call my mother and my wife back into the ER because with my back and everything that they had just operated on, I was trying to attack people because I saw demons coming after me to kill me. Now, then a lot of people are like, what? No. They actually had to call my family into the back room like hours earlier than they were supposed to because they needed them to help restrain me because I was begging them to give me, and I don't remember any of this at all, any of it, but I was begging them to give me silver so that I could kill this demon or demons that were chasing me.
And you were like lying on a hospital bed?
I was on a hospital bed, literally strapped to the gurney because I was trying to hit the doctors and anyone who came near me. I was strapped down, cut open, and still trying to fight off whatever it was that was freaking me out when I was sedated.
Yeah.
And it like my wife thinks it's hysterical because my wife's like, well, you know, on the bright side, if there is a hell, at least you were trying to fight off demons or something. If it was a preview to hell, I don't know what exactly it was that happened. I do know that, you know, at least if it was demons, I was trying to fight them instead of just trying to be like, take me. Yeah, I put up a good fight.
Wait a minute, time out. Somebody told you that you saw demons because you were on a path to hell?
Mom.
Oh! Don't do that. Don't do that.
Mom,
no.
My mother.
You can't do that.
My mother's religious, and she believes that I was honestly
we love Mom.
A glimpse of hell.
We love Mom, but that's super funny. Okay, but what would you say to people who would say, well, you were just hallucinating, you know, you're probably at the hospital on drugs and, you know, not the good
believe
kind.
me, I was on drugs, but I looked at my wife, and I trust my wife when she tells me I was extraordinarily serious. I was clutching her clothes with the hands still tied to the gurney and looking her straight in the face. And I looked panicked. I was yelling at her, you know, if you ever trusted me at all in your life, trust me now and get me silver.
Well, with the demons or the entities that you saw, were they right on top of real people that were there, or were they like outside?
See, the only thing I remember is one specific nurse.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I can even remember, is I remember at some point looking up and this chick's face was just distorted. Like creepy distorted.
Really?
It was almost like...
in The Devil's Advocate? when the
yes,
their faces change?
Similar to that, not quite like as CGI effective,
Right? Yeah.
but it was. Imagine what Skeletor from the movie, the live action movie He-Man looked like.
Yeah.
Imagine that face just underneath the real face, like almost hologrammy.
Man. Yeah.
Is what I kind of remember, and it's the only. Ironically, it's the only thing I can remember.
Right.
Before I woke up in my actual room after all this had happened. It's the only real thing that stuck with me.
Let's see. Jumping back in the chat, Mr. Mensa says, JayDreamerZ, really great relationship you two have. Heartwarming. Oh, let's hug.
Hug.
Let's hug. We're brothers.
We need a theme song. Where's the 80s montage?
Yeah, I know. We need like an 80s brothers thing. Let's see. What else do we have? 9790 says, JayDreamerZ, what would be the reason for the giants warring against the parent titans in myth stories? Were they fighting over dominion of the earth? And if so, why not just share it? Well, see, I could give you that information, and I don't want to be a douche or anything, but I highly recommend researching that for your own self, and then once you have the story, we can compare stories. You know what I mean? That's a great question. So I want to encourage you to check out the answer on your own, and then when you get that answer, touch base with me, and then we can talk about it.
Mostly also because that's a very long, complicated. If you don't already have your own views, it's going to be even longer if they're trying to give you views.
Right, and sometimes I don't like to distort other people's ideas or their minds or anything.
Well, and that's how we all get progressively further in this type of thing, is because you're not stifling them, and then they can come back and say, "Hey, look, I looked at it this way," and you can go, "Oh my God, hey, look," or no, or whatever. But that's how this stuff progresses. Is we don't want to, you don't want to trample and lead anybody to the answers.
Right.
You want to give them the breadcrumbs to go look for and find the answers on their own.
Right.
And then we can discuss.
Instead of piggybacking off of everyone's perception, develop your own perception using the tools of other people's perception.
Yeah.
Something like that. Let's see. Karen B says, great convo with your brother. Thank you, Karen. Here's what I wanted to ask before we go. Okay? So, conspiracies abound. All right? There is truth to be had and found out all over the place. Revelation after revelation. It seems a lot of people are saying that we live in a time right now where a lot of people are waking up. A lot of people are coming to new realizations, alternative theories and views on the world, on themselves, right? And a lot of these things they have some merit to them, right? Things that we have not really discovered before, or maybe things that we're rediscovering, almost, like I tend to say, like the ancient ways are returning. The old stories, the old histories, all this stuff is returning to us today. What are your thoughts on the age that we live in now, like the times that we're in now, as far as humanity goes? That's question number one. And then the follow-up question that I'm going to ask. So question number one is, what do you think about this whole awakening deal, right? And then the next question that we'll talk about is, what's the end game for the slaves? What's the end game for us, who know that there are world powers who are the slave masters, who are the owners, etc. What's the end of it all? What's the bottom line, in your opinion? Your perspective.
Well, as far as the awakening of this generation goes, I don't think it's so much of an awakening as it is the same thing I've been telling everyone, that annoys me with the movie culture. I'm a huge movie buff, but this generation is pretty much stealing movies from my generation, who pretty much stole movies from the generation before, and on and so forth.
Yes.
I don't think it's a awakening so much as it's a reawakening, and in a reawakening, it barely even fits that, because you have to understand, man, in my personal belief system, I believe that we are still so freaking far behind actual enlightenment and truth that we used to be as a species as a whole, that it's still going to take us forever to catch up, because we live in an instant gratification world. Okay, when me and you were kids and we used to have to go look up an answer because a teacher asked us a question about a book, we had to read the whole damn book to get the answer. Okay, so we absorbed all that knowledge. We live in an instantly gratified world now. Hey Siri, what's the answer to this question?
Yeah.
Hey, and the problem with that is people aren't waking up so much as being led to being woken up, which is what we were just talking about. I don't want to force my ideas on people, and I don't want to tell people my ideas and have them go, I just mindlessly believe you because I want you to come to the conclusions of your own ideas and bring them to the table with my ideas and go,
Right.
look, this is what I think, this is what you think, let's hash some of this out and have a discussion.
I agree.
The problem is I don't believe that we're at a point right now where people are necessarily awakening. I think it's just that we've come to a point technologically that we can't hide as much of the stuff that's going on in our world as we used to. Okay, we can't hide all the weird crap that's going on in our skies. Think about how many more cameras there are recording the skies now than there was 20 years ago.
Oh,
okay,
man.
billions more cameras.
I don't even know how many there's probably more cameras than there are people.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume because
Yeah.
there's a lot of them. But I mean, yeah, 20 years ago we didn't have a way to do all this. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's more of a awakening as it's just getting harder not to see this shit because of our level of technology
Right.
and the way we're being presented with certain things.
Okay, so what about? We'll get to the next question too. But what do you think as far as do you think that in our lifetime or sometime soon or far away that we will see some sort of alien beings re-entering into our world?
It won't be by... If we see that, it will not be by government choice. They're going to keep, in my opinion, they're going to keep this under wraps as long as they can because that's where the illusion of power comes from.
Right.
We're in control, not them.
Right.
Okay, I don't believe our government's in control, number one, or any government for that matter. I especially don't believe that they're going to be in control if we all as a species know that there is someone out there with the ability to travel between worlds. Screw your laws.
Yeah.
I'm listening to
I
them.
know. What?
Okay.
Wait a minute. You want to destroy all these beings with all this technology and knowledge and everything?
I also, though, do
So quick
believe
to just
that
shoot.
our planet should not be doing the retarded stuff we're doing and trying to reach out to them. This is the age. We have more scientists and more communication centers and stuff around the world trying to communicate with aliens than ever before. And I think, like Stephen Hawking and all these other people said, that is a gigantic mistake because I do believe aliens have visited us before. And I think that we are extraordinarily lucky that they didn't wipe us off the face of this planet.
Okay, let me. Somebody in the chat wants you. They're asking politely if you could just hit the nail on the head. Do you think we're going to see aliens pop up
No.
anytime soon?
No.
Okay. I do. I definitely do. Except, see, I don't see them coming down in spaceships from outer space or whatever. I just think that we're going to see, just like, what's that TV show? Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones has the ice wall and giants and magical creatures and stuff. They come over the ice wall and they kind of flood back into our realm. But see, I see like apocalypse, revelation, the end of the world type of thing. I like the Norse view. I like Ragnarok, and Ragnarok talks about there will be a time when all of these main beings that have ever existed, you've got the Titans, the giants, and then humanity, basically. Possibly artificial intelligence, depends on how much longer we wait, right? Because that's artificial intelligence is our offspring. You know what I mean?
Well, I misunderstood what you were asking. Let me rephrase. I'm sorry. I'm talking about from a government release view. We're not going to...
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get that confused. The
Like
government is not
disclosure.
going... Yes.
Right,
The
okay,
government is
okay.
not going to disclose aliens anytime soon. I do think that it's already happened that aliens have been seen. Think of the Phoenix Lights. Thousands of people over a major U.S. city saw this thing. It's already happened. They've already been here. There's nothing we have that is that big or that complicated machinery-wise on this planet yet. Is that triangle that floated over the city of Phoenix, blocking out miles worth of sky.
Right.
We don't have that yet. So as far as that type of the answer goes, I believe we already did see them.
Okay, so here's my next question. I'm so sorry, but I keep thinking of new stuff I want to ask, right? So, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud at this point, but you were talking about the meeting, the Eisenhower meeting, right?
Yes.
Like the aliens came down. We all agreed, all right, aliens, we're going to meet you on our military base at this particular junction, at this time, etc. Why do the aliens even care to make deals with government? Why wouldn't they just land? It
wasn't a deal. It was a hostage exchange.
No, I'm just saying, when they land, right? Why would they go to the world governments? Which, if aliens are as smart as we assume that they are because of space travel, why aren't they smart enough to know that the government organizations of our world are evil and corrupt, and that they shouldn't go to those people to communicate and make deals and talk with them, right?
Well,
Unless, right?
The one reason that I believe that they came to our government was not coming to our government for help or for, hey, we're here, we want to give you some technology. I believe that they honestly came to our government for two reasons. One was the first time that they contacted our government and they told our government operatives directly, quit using nuclear weapons. If you keep it up, negative consequences will be had. We have footage that has somehow disappeared recently, but we had footage of an actual warhead being shot at by a UFO. If you look at it, no successful launch of nuclear material into space has ever happened. And I'm talking about nuclear material attached to a warhead, okay? Not like a battery on a freaking nuclear rover. Okay? Any nuclear warheads that we've ever sent into space have either gone missing or been shot down or blown up, the rocket destroyed, whatever, before it reaches, accidents.
Right.
All this other stuff. I believe that was the first time, and I believe the second time was because we had live aliens from downed spacecraft. And I'm not talking just Roswell.
Right.
Okay, you have to understand. Every country around this world has already accused America of sending in troops to go after downed aircraft. Russia, China, all of them.
You think we downed the aircraft?
They believe, no, I believe just like any other machine, they have technical issues.
Right.
Things happen. Our radio waves screw up their stuff. Different shit from the, who knows what our technology on this planet does to their stuff.
Right. That's a good point.
We don't know. But I believe that we are one of the fastest first responders to downed UFOs ever.
Oh, yeah. We want the technology.
Exactly.
We're
it's
greedy.
ours.
We're like, oh, what just landed? Go get it. Go get it.
If you look at some of the case files where they talk about there being live captured aliens, there's actually been videos of them. Some of them say it looked too puppeteer. Some of them people said it looked so real it was creepy.
Talking about the big potbelly one on the table?
No. I'm talking about the one that was sitting at the end of the table and its head looks all like Muppety because it's bouncing around, all creepy.
One. Okay.
And it's in a dark room with like just enough light to illuminate it because it's supposedly sensitive to light. But my point is a lot of people claim that we have captured these aliens alive. And I believe that what happened at that airbase was not a open, free, hey, if you give us this, we'll give you this. I believe it was basically a hostage exchange. Hey, we got your dude.
So let's get to the last thing that we're gonna wrap things up. It's super hot in here where we are, so we're gonna wrap everything up. Last thing is, what do you think the end game is for your average person who's looking into more answers? For me and you, or just humanity, like what's the end game as far as exposing the truth? Do you see like war happening, or cataclysm helping to take care of things, or maybe things get worse for us and we just get into a even more enslaved
I think
state?
disclosure is going to take no government. I think awakening is going to take no government. I'm a firm believer, and I don't mean this to offend anyone, so before I get all the hate mail, I think things like most religions and politics divide people. They're built on a system of rules, like in the Matrix.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the rules of these say that people have to be at ends. Okay, even in regular political races, you have the Democrats, the Liberals, the Republicans,
right,
all facing off in the showdown of death.
Right.
I believe that
it's a natural part of
in order for there to be true enlightenment on our planet, as far as a lot of these subjects go, and openness and willing to talk about these things and explore them, and do scientific research into them. I believe that on the large scale is going to take a complete reconstruction of a different kind of government, because we can't have what we have now. And same thing with religion. I mean, think about the implications, man. When just recently, when the Vatican and the Church announced there might be extraterrestrial life, how many Catholic people freaked? What? You've been saying for decades that shit wasn't real, and now all of a sudden it's okay? I mean, if you can think of that on a global level, though,
right,
people would be pissed.
Right,
you lied to us for how long? You know?
So last question, last one. I promise. I promise. Last question. Let's just say that we do live to see some sort of an alien invasion, and that's exactly how most people think that it's going to be portrayed. This alien invasion or whatever. So let's just say It's just like in the Marvel movies. A portal in the sky opens up. You see these weird elven alien things coming out, shooting beam beam all over the place. What are you going to do?
Oh, I'm hiding like a mother. If you have lasers and spaceships and you can open portals in the sky, me throwing my Xbox controller at your head or my PlayStation controller at your ship is not going to do anything.
Right.
I don't think there's a whole plan on that one except for maybe greet the overlords with a basket of fruit. You know?
Right. Oh, hi.
I'll help turn all these other guys' perspectives around. You don't need to kill me. I can.
But we both have talked about these types of things before, like what we're going to do. And, you know, we do have our own contingency plans. We have our own...
apocalyptic type ones, yeah.
Yeah, where we have safe places that we believe are good locally and far away as well. You know, we've talked about these things like, hey, bro, where are you going to be when the stuff hits the fan? Or, bro, where do you want to meet up? Or what are you going to do? Because ultimately, we're family, you know? And I don't care if he doesn't think the earth is flat or whatever. He's got my back times a billion, you know what I mean? And I've got his. So... in the end of the world situation, this is the kind of a relationship you would like to have with people. Okay, it doesn't matter if they're your blood relatives or or your friends or whatnot. You want to develop core groups, your own little family circles, basically, so that when these things happen, you have your own little community, your own little group to rely upon. Just like we have our own little community here, right? When we all get together on my channel, most of my viewers and most of the people in the chat and everything, we all come together, we help each other out. We even did an experiment doing this the other day with the riddle, remember? We all worked on a riddle together. And the whole point of that experiment was to prove that answers can be had so much faster when a group of people get together to try to figure out and reconstruct a history, or to try to figure out the story, or why something had happened, or how it had happened. And you guys all got together and figured out a riddle that took me 3 days to figure out in about half an hour. You guys did that all yourselves because you got together. So when anything happens that's bad, if something bad happens, whether it be natural, from God, or, Ragnarok, anything, the stock market crashes, we lose our electricity, whatever it may be, you want to have other people out there that you can trust, that you know what I mean? Other people that have that same purpose, which is survival, in mind, and then we have that, so that's a good thing to have. It doesn't matter. Why would you break that? Why would you break that off? Just because you don't agree, you don't have my worldview. Bro, you don't have my worldview. You can kiss my butt in the apocalypse. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I support your life continuing. You support my life continuing. And we're truth seekers. So we want to add life.
It comes down to this, man. Knowledge is meant to be shared, okay? I don't believe that knowledge should be kept away from anybody. I think that the more people who work on knowledge, the greater the knowledge becomes, the more your understandings all improve. And that's what it's about. That's the same reason I love coming here and doing this with my brother, it's perspective, okay? I like giving people new perspectives on stuff so that they can go do their own research into it, so they can go look into it. I like hearing Jason's stuff because, like I said, there was 2 things tonight he brought up I'd never heard of, and now I'm like, holy cow. And when I go home, believe me, I'm going to get online and be like, what was that? Hold on. I'm going to be texting my brother, hey, what the hell was that you said? I want to look into that.
Well, you can just go watch it again. I mean...
yeah, but you know me. I'm going to text you instead.
Okay. Well, hey, everyone, we're going to wrap things up. We'll probably come back. I'll have my brother on another time.
It was great to see everyone
I do need to give you some news for those of you who watch my channel. I'm going to take about 2 weeks off starting today to do maintenance basically on my channel. There's a lot of maintenance I need to do with stuff here on my side, with computers and programs and all this stuff that you guys don't even know anything about. So I'm going to take a couple weeks to do that maintenance and to take a break and spend with my family. Then I'm going to come back and do a Christmas special the Thursday before Christmas. What we're going to talk about are the reality of Santa Claus, where Santa Claus comes from, the myth versus the facts, the elves, who are the elves really, the real physical elves that existed versus the cartoons and the caricatures that we see.
I want you to touch off on one of those on that, just on the real quick note, the Santa thing.
Yeah.
You got to touch off on why we're one of the only places in the world that has a Santa that doesn't have an evil Santa. I'm just saying. Almost everywhere else has some version of Santa's evil brother.
Yes.
Santa's darker half.
Yes.
Whatever you want to call it. Krampus.
Okay, well, I can respond to that in a nutshell real quick, right? I believe that the reason we only have the good Santa as opposed to Santa's evil twin, Krampus, or what is his name?
Yeah, that's one of them.
Krampus,
There's
right?
a bunch of them.
There's a few, right? Well, I think that it has to do with that eternal and age-old story between the two brothers that were fighting for supremacy over the world. You know what I mean? And I'm basically referring to Enki and Enlil of the Anunnaki. Now, they're called by various names in various religions, but there are always these two brothers who were fighting. You know, they were the elven race, they were the El or the Elohim, etc. And they were always fighting for the world, you know, like who was going to control the world, who was going to own the world. And Santa Claus is somebody that basically, you know, he's got dibs on the whole planet. Like, he comes around and he gives off all these good gifts and stuff. But we don't see the counterpart. And that's because that being wants to erase the counterpart. There is a family feud that's been going on for millennia after millennia. And I think that this whole one-sided Santa Claus thing might have a lot to do with the family feud between Enki and Enlil. That's just one theory that I have about why we don't have Krampus or an evil Santa Claus here.
I'll talk to you more about this off camera, but I want to mention it on camera just to see what your crowd, who's still here, thinks of anything. We got to save up, man, because I know a lot of how you have a lot of knowledge I don't have. I have a lot of normal knowledge about paranormal you don't have. I want to go on a ghost hunt with you. A live streamed ghost hunt.
Okay. We can do that. I would definitely do that.
I want to work it out where me and you...
Would you guys like to see my brother and I go on an actual ghost hunt together? Because that used to be his job, okay? I trust him completely that he knows how to do all the ghost hunting stuff, and I'm absolutely up for that. So if you want to... If you're interested in that, leave some comments, let me know. I'll go over them. What else were we saying? Was there something else?
I think that was it. Honestly.
Was that it? Oh, no, I was giving news. Okay, so anyways, I'll be talking about the reality of the elves and the tree. Why do we bring a tree into our house and light it up and put gifts under it and stuff like that, right? Now, I know a lot of you who have ventured a little far into the rabbit hole will immediately wave the pagan flag around, you know, and give me all these quotes from the Bible, which are valid, which I know that they are in the Bible and stuff, but... there's another backstory. There's a deeper story, I believe, to the symbolism behind the tree and why we venerate the tree at that particular time of year and why the tree, the Christmas tree, is related to the beautiful ambient lights, you know, the blinky lights or whatever, and why it's related to Santa Claus, why the tree is related to the North Pole, why the tree is related to the elves. I believe all these things are interconnected, that they're all a part of an old never-ending story, basically. So that's all I have to say. You want to say goodbye?
It was great being here again, everyone. As usual, if you want to see more of me, just let my brother know.
All right, everybody. You guys have a great time. I will see you the Thursday before Christmas for the Christmas special. And thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Happy holidays.
Bye.